There's a reason I am the way I am, ladies and gentlemen. I've been told this entire video about the possibilities of being in an impingement X, Y, and Z. Don't be in a position to impinge your shoulders, blah, 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 blah. And he's doing a narrow grip behind the neck pull down for traps? These things make me just eek me. What is up and back to the show, guys. Today I'm going to react to Athlean-X video, the top trap exercises ranked best to worst. Let's get into it.
First of the worst exercises, and can we just get this one out of the way? Can we talk about the upright row? Now look, I understand you might point me towards a video that you got clickbaited into, thinking you were gonna find the reason why the upright row is actually good, only to have the person essentially backtrack with all the same reasons why I've been saying they're not so good for all these years. Guys, there's a better alternative to the upright row.
Okay, so number one, I get it, guys. You guys are gonna be like, but Athlean-X is a physiotherapist, and you're just okay. No, listen. Can we stop the fear mongering of having impingements because you're in a internal rotation? Your shoulders do a ton of beautiful things. They're meant to do a lot of things, to move weight around. That's what the shoulder joint is supposed to do. The reason why people get shoulder impingements is mostly like loading too much or not controlling the movement itself. So if you're doing bad form of something, or like you're grabbing too close and really, yeah, you're gonna maybe be in jeopardy of a shoulder impingement. But to always say that just because your hands are like this and you're internally rotated and you're loaded, that you're gonna have a shoulder impingement, no. But again, to have this at the worst one, I gotta see the rest. Let's keep going.
This time for a shrug, but not any shrug, this shrug, the rolling shrug.
Hold on a sec.
Not sure who invented this,
What?
but it does no extra benefit.
What? All right, so listen, I've been coaching for 20 years. I know what I'm talking about. I remember seeing the rolling shrug. That was literally, I'm pretty sure, when I first started working out, that's how everybody and their mother was doing shrugs. Was rolling their arm and doing this. And he is completely right, it is absolutely useless. It is very dumb to just roll the shrug and load it and just roll. But to have that better than an upright row for shrugs, like we're going worst to best, and an upright row is worse than a rolling shrug. To me already, this is, we can agree to disagree. But like, let's just look at it. Very obvious that the rolling shrug should be the worst one on the list. It's literally the most useless shrug movement you can do, and an upright row is a good movement. You understand what upright row is? An upright row is close to, or it's the beginning or a slower movement of a clean. A clean is, the part of a clean is an upright row. An upright row is a very, slow moving clean. The first part of a clean. So, I gotta disagree.
For you, and it does a whole lot of detrimental things. The bottom line is, when you allow your shoulders to round forward, you do two things to that glenohumeral joint. One, you're bringing it into internal rotation, which again will start to cause some of that stress onto the anterior shoulder capsule.
Guys, listen, you are not going to hurt your shoulder by being in an interior rotation, protraction. You're fine. As long as you're moving with intention under a good full range of motion, you're fine. The whole fear mongering with shoulder impingements needs to stop. It just does. So let's just keep going.
Second thing is, you're adding a compressive force to that joint that has an effect on the clavicle or collarbone. As the collarbone sits down onto something called the thoracic outlet, you can get some of the symptoms of thoracic outlet syndrome, which can lead to numbness or tingling or vascular issues in your arm. And the rolling component isn't helping you at all anyway, because the real main function of the upper traps is simply going to be lift up and down.
Okay, guys, understand this. What the traps do, they do shoulder elevation and the scapular retraction. They do this and they do this. So for me to give you like a cue, like roll your shoulders back away from your ears, well, your traps are moving the shoulders up, moving your shoulders back. Lats can help pull them down. Loading this is useless, but there's nothing wrong with doing this and this.
finish up the worst of the worst, this time with the above the knee rack pull. And once again, this exercise is causing a lot of the same issues that I just had with the rolling shrug. When you have that much weight in your hand held out in front of your body, it sends those shoulders into that protracted.
Okay, I can say that that is not a good. That's just not a good form. I gotta draw a line in the sand when we break some of these things down, so we can really stop the fear mongering of certain exercises. I'm definitely gonna agree when certain things are said that don't make any sense, movements, whatnot, and help you guys avoid doing nonsense. But to like have on the list the above the knee rack pull. The guy's not doing it right. If you're doing a rack pull, regardless if you're above the knee or below the waist, you should already be in a retracted position. You should be like this already. You like if my hand, like, look guys, our bodies are created so amazing, so amazing. The shoulder joint, the entire body is so great. You can put your hands in front like this, and guess what? I can retract my scapulas, and I'm not in an interior rotated position. There's no internal rotation. If you're doing a rack pull properly, you should be already retracted. This is how you should look. You should be like this. And even your hands in front of the bars in front of you, you should be like this. Check it out. Many of you guys are watching the video and you're not subscribed. You also don't have the post notification bell on as well. So guys, hit that post notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and let's get the views and subs this channel deserves. Appreciate you.
To say that it also gets a big red X and belongs in the worst of the worst category.
I agree with that.
All good trap exercises, but still some limitations that are holding them back from being up at the top with the best. That being said, I want to start with the Incline Y Raise. And most of the exercise.
Okay, so we've already been through this list so far. The worst of this list is a upright row. Better than the upright row is a rolling shrug. But better than all those is a Y raise incline. Guys, we just gotta look at gravity and what's being challenged. Now, when we talk about traps, most people are only thinking about what you can see. So think about these big things where you look like, here's traps, and that's all you're thinking about. The traps, they start here and they go down the middle of your back, your scapulas, like they retract the scapulas together. They almost go to like the mid part of your back. So when you're talking about trap development or trap exercises, yes, we have to understand that we want to look at the entire thing. The movement like this and the movement like this. It being challenged in a way where it's doing this and challenged a way where it's doing this. That's how we have to distinguish whether or not a trap exercise is good or not. Is it being challenged in a stretched position while it's being pulled up, or is it being challenged in a protracted position while being retracted? When you're doing Y press, that is a delt exercise. And maybe at the very top of it, when the mid traps are engaged, you're getting some traps, but for that to be a trap, a better movement than all the other ones and upright rows? I don't know. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. Now, you can believe whoever you want. I'm not gonna be like, believe me because I got big traps, and don't believe him. Believe what you want. Believe what you want. I'm just telling you guys and being practical, and I'm not fear-mongering you guys. And I'm definitely gonna admit when certain things are on par, but I just have to disagree when someone comes and says a better trap exercise than upright rows is a Y press, when you are literally doing exactly what the traps are tending to do when you're doing an upright row. Guys, I just want you to look at this. I ain't hating on nobody. I'm just using my eyes and I'm thinking biomechanics. I'm thinking about how the traps actually work. The traps do shoulder elevation, they do scapular retraction, and they do a little bit of depression, a little bit. They help pull down a bit. They do a little bit. But primarily they're doing this and this. How is it being challenged right now? And we're talking muscle hypertrophy. How is this being challenged if the traps are literally not doing anything? How this would be a good trap exercise is if he was laying flat down on the bench as he is, took that weight and went like this. That would be a better movement. Or if he went like this and then raised him up, went back down and then retracted. That would be a much better exercise. But guys, his traps aren't doing anything.
We're talking about face pulls, but not so fast. because the face pull does a really good job of hitting some of the traps, but not everywhere. You see, there's no elevation going on here, so the upper traps are not really in focus. And the lower traps here are not really doing much of anything either. But we do know that this is a good middle trap exercise, as well as obviously hitting the rhomboids.
Let's just look at the trap. Right now, his traps are doing scapular retraction. They're actually doing a lot of work. So to say that the traps aren't doing much is kind of contradicting what he's saying. This is a good exercise. Now, if we want to really make this really hit where he's at with this when he's going out right there, we want that entire scapula to be protracted. Like, you want his back to be rounded. Why? Put it this way. Let's find something I can make. Here's your traps, all right? We want the traps to go like this, and then to come all the way up to do this. And that's basically what the scaps are doing. And because the traps are helping out with that, the retraction of the scapula, you want to make sure that we don't just go from here to here. We want it to go from here and like around. That'll be equivalent to me being like this, and then pulling and being fully like that. So when I'm watching this and I'm saying that it's not that good of a mid-trap workout, when I'm looking at his scaps, looking at his traps look completely retracted. His scaps are like yoink, they're pinching.
It's called an Urlacher. And what's nice about this exercise is it's also incorporating some rotator cuff into the already existing upper trap and middle trap work that it's accomplishing. Again, this is not an exercise that you're getting your benefit.
I agree with this movement, but when I'm telling you again, upper trap and lower trap, right now he's really working, the traps are working. He's got a great amount of protraction, and we're really pulling in here and we're getting some really good retraction from the scapula. So this is a pretty good movement to do. But again, to tell me that the upright row is at the bottom of the barrel of this entire list, the upright row is better than all of the movements that he said so far. I would say right now that's one of the only exercises right now that should not be where it should be at all. The rest of them I can kind of agree with, but the biggest miss up is that upright row.
And we call it the trap pull down. And we lean into the shoulder stabilizing action of the upper traps during a traditional pull down. See, what you do here is you take a much...
What? All right, I'm confused. All right, so there's a reason I am the way I am, ladies and gentlemen. I've been told this entire video about the possibilities of being in an impingement X, Y, and Z. Don't be in a position to impinge your shoulders, blah, 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 blah. And he's doing a narrow grip behind the neck pull down for traps? I'm just trying to figure out gravity here, guys. I don't care how narrow your hands are in pulling down. Understand gravity. Gravity, ladies and gents. My traps, to be worked, need to be lifting something from down from the floor and up. Why? Because my traps do shoulder elevation and scapula retraction. So like the best, I would say, angle to be for a trap exercise would be a slight bend to be able to put the load onto the entire trap. How is doing a pull down better than doing an upright row, a above the knee shoulder, a shrug, or any of the movements earlier that are challenging the traps in the position that it's going to be challenged naturally? Let me say this again. The traps do shoulder elevation. So if I'm pushing down on it, if I'm pushing down on my traps, I'm not doing anything. If there's weight coming, if I'm pulling down, it's not doing anything. Now, if you wanted to make this a trap exercise, and we can kind of couple it with a back exercise too and do like a high row, that would include some traps because you have to go from the upright position, pulling the weight down and retract the scapulas and going back up to protracted state. You'd be getting a lot more traps doing a high row than you would be doing a narrow grip behind the neck pull down? And then say that that's not something that might be a shoulder impingement movement? I want you to understand that The only thing that his traps are doing right now is being squeezed together because he's in a weird position to pull his arms. He's doing this like, I gotta get my, this is not a trap exercise.
Isometric contractions can contribute to overall muscle development, especially if they occur in the stretch position. We'll get to that later, but for now.
He just said it. When it occurs in the stretch position. He's not in a stretch position in that movement. He just said something contradictory to what he's coaching.
Here is the farmer's carry. And talk about isometric-based exercises, this is one. But we also have those additional benefits, making this a more multi-dimensional exercise option. You have the ability to train your forearms and grip strength here, or to perform this as a conditioning exercise, or really even just to work on your mental toughness, because this could be a ball buster if you have to do it for any length of time.
Okay, so number one, we're talking about the best trap exercise. Now we're talking about, trap exercise. We're talking about grip strength and forearm development. My tip for anybody doing any kind of shrugging anything is get a pair of straps, strap them up, and let your traps do the work. If I want to work my traps, I don't want to work my grip strength. If I want to work my traps, I'm not trying to get bigger forearms. If I'm doing anything where I have to hold weight, I want the muscle that I'm trying to isolate, get every single bit of that isolation. I don't want to have it going anywhere else. I don't want to worry about losing reps because my grip goes. Put some damn straps on. When you're doing traps, you wearing straps. Shit, I gotta put that on a t-shirt.
Well, it's time to fix the rack pulls. And all we have to do is take it from above the knee to below the knee, because that fixes everything. Why? Because we're changing the mechanics of the upper body when you perform the exercise. You see, when you perform an above the knee rack pull like we talked about, you're getting all that protraction strength.
That is I'm sorry, I can't, that is a crock of shit. That is bull. That is bull. That's just making up content. You're telling me that when you do an above the knee rack pull, you're supposed to be protracted, but when it's lower, you're not anymore? Wouldn't it be harder to stay retracted or whatever? Wouldn't it be harder to be in a retracted state being lower than it would being higher? Does that not make any sense to you guys? You're not confused like I am?
Scapula to have to be retracted and set before you perform the exercise.
That's how it should be, no matter how high or low you set the rack. You should be retracted and depressed to begin with. These things make me just eek me.
Third up in our better still category now is something called the plate trap raise. And this is another one of those exercises that could be considered a little bit more corrective, but you can perform it with slightly more weight. But the goal here, once again, is to get your focus all the time off of the upper traps, and this time shift it all.
Guys, I don't even really care what the ranking is, least to worst. These don't make any sense. Can we really just talk about the muscular anatomy? Let's just go over it real quick, okay? Right now, he is doing right here, that is shoulder flexion. Right now, his traps aren't doing anything. They're not doing anything. I shouldn't say that, because someone's gonna be in the comment section and be like, I see his traps moving, I can see him twitching, doing something, Johnny. You're a liar. Yeah, okay, cool. They're stabilizing, they're sitting there. They're there. Okay, they're moving a bit, but they're not. This is better than upright rows, rack pulls, even the rounding of the roll in the shoulders is better than this. This is a shoulder exercise. The traps elevate, retract, primarily. Elevate, retract. They're challenged by you holding something in your hand and having to be like, I don't know. Like, when someone asks you, hey, where'd you put my keys at? I don't know. Oh, that's the traps are being worked. Or you're like, man, my back, I can't scratch my back, and you're doing this, and you're pulling your back and doing this kind of stuff, or I don't know. That's when the traps work, or you're protracting and retracting. That's what the traps are doing.
And this exercise does a great job if you perform it correctly. You want to take that grip on the sides of the plate rather than a palms down positioning, because as the plate gets up overhead, you don't want to be in internal rotation, but be more in a neutral position. Also here, yes, the shoulders will be working, the front delt specifically, during the first half of the exercise.
You can't make this shit up. Look at his traps. Just because you're lean, you can see them moving, doesn't mean the traps are getting the load for this. And where are the trap? The trap. What muscle? What part of the lift are we getting the most muscle improvement when it's under a load and it's lengthened position? How are the traps in a lengthened position here at all? What kind of hypertrophy are we getting here in the traps? What's next?
That elevation overhead. If you wanted to, you could actually shorten the range of motion to perform just the upper half from fully extended overhead down just to parallel to the floor. Stand here and defend this exercise all the way till the day I die because I'm that confident in its superiority.
The dumbbell high pulls and the barbell upright row. Guys, let me inform you, okay? Because there's these big misconceptions of what certain exercises are called. And one of those things come to mind, it's the Romanian deadlift, and people thinking that there's a difference between a Romanian deadlift and a stiff leg deadlift. They're the same thing. An upright row and a high pull are the same thing. An upright row or a high pull is the same thing. You can use different pieces of equipment to perform the same movement, but it is virtually the same exercise. Yeah, you're probably in a better overall position because you're in dumbbells, you can move freely or whatever. And I can understand because the traps are getting stretched at the bottom, so yes, it's crossing off one of those boxes. But to have the upright row or the high pull, whatever it is, at the end of the list, then bring out the same exercise with dumbbells and call it an upright row? What?
Upright row. Why? Because I can accomplish the same exact things that we were trying to do with the upright row.
Guys, right now, because of how he's moving this, how he's holding the weights, he's getting more shoulders than he is traps.
Is that when it comes to building traps, it's one of the secondary benefits. It's also obviously building.
He just told us that when it comes to building traps, it's a secondary benefit to this exercise, which means the primary of this exercise is going to be shoulders and the secondary is traps, yet this is at the top of the list. What's number one? Where are we at? How many more do we have here?
And so with all exercises bearing some color here behind me except for one, it leaves only one to be the best of the best. And yes, it is a shrug variation, but it's the trap bar shrug.
All right, okay. Whoa, thank you. Woo! Oh my, I'm sorry guys, I had to skip the end. I couldn't handle this. I was just like, there's no way. This list does not make any sense, but he came in the end and he saved it all. He came in the end because I'm like, what I was hoping, I'm like, he better have trap bar shrugs in there. And at least what he should have is trap bar shrugs first and then dumbbell shrugs second. And dumbbell shrugs with a little bit of a lean forward because you're doing both. You're getting both the elevation and the scapular retraction. That's what you're getting. Just from body positioning. Let me tell you the best of the best that's in this. And he said it. Number one is I 100% agree with that. 100%. Athlean-X, me and you on that one, 100%. How to make it even better is just have a little bit of a lean forward, a little bit of a hinge, so you're challenged in your scaps as well too. And you can do the same thing with the dumbbell shrugs. What's number one gonna be for me? A trap bar shrug for sure. And next, I'm gonna do a dumbbell shrug for sure. And then next, I'm gonna do like an upright row for sure. 3. You only need 3. When we talk about how many exercises you need to do per muscle group, do you need to do them all the time? No, you don't. You get a lot of traps on a lot of the movements anyway. If you're gonna add traps into your workout routine, you only need 1. And we also wanna make sure we're stretching it out to get the most amount of muscle hypertrophy. And guess what, guys? My top exercises for traps are in my ebook. So go grab the Ultimate Push-Pull Legs ebook right now and you can do a couple of those trap exercises. But either way, guys, that's my thoughts on this. I agree with his last one, his first one, his worst one. I don't agree with, and the stuff in between. I feel like it was a lot of filler. But either way, guys, hope you learned something. You only need to do 1 or 2 trap exercises. Anyway, till next time, You guys know how it is. Iron sharpens iron, progressive overload your life. In the meantime, y'all keep dream chasing. Peace.